For the ninth time in the last 12 seasons, the New York Giants are 0-2 to start the football season. It is a problem from the top down, and the guy I'm looking at right now is Brian Daboll. I'm not so sure that he deserves to be the head coach of the New York Football Giants. What do you think? Should John Mara make Joe Schoen fire Brian Daboll? Should Joe Schoen just go out and fire Brian Daboll? Maybe not right now, but should this be his last season as the head coach? Type Y for yes, type N for no. You're watching Giants Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Marshall Green, and in today's video, I am going to try to make sense of Brian Daboll keeping this job. Or maybe I should say, make sense of firing Brian Daboll. Because in the NFL, it is very, very simple. It is a GM, head coach, and quarterback league. You are only as good as your GM, head coach, and quarterback. And I'm not so sure the Giants have any of these three people, the right people, in the right positions. We'll talk about Joe Schoen later. I don't think you fire a GM midseason. And we know what Daniel Jones is at this point. So we're talking about Brian Daboll. And look, I do think that Daboll can be a good coach in the NFL. I think he can be a good coordinator. He's already been that. But going from a coordinator, a guy that calls plays, to becoming the CEO of an NFL team is a major jump. And I'm just not so sure that Brian Daboll is ready for that or has shown that he is ready for that. What the hell happened yesterday with the kicker situation? Brian Daboll is over his head, slamming his headset on the ground yesterday in disgust. Who are you mad at? The reason the Giants lost the football game, Mr. Daboll, was because of you. Because you trotted out a hurt kicker. You can't even get the game day roster right. You were brought here to fix the offense. You have not done that. But at the very least, you can't even get the healthy, active 48 players to suit up on game day. The Giants went into Sunday with 52 players on the roster, one of them being a hurt kicker. You could have just signed another one or elevated the practice squad kicker that you have. But for some reason, you didn't do that, which is crazy because everybody in this stadium watching pregame warmups saw that your kicker, Gano, was hurt. Dan Duggan of The Athletic at 11:58 yesterday said Gano didn't look comfortable at all during warmups, wincing after most kicks. He then cut his warmup short and jogged off the field. The punter is now kicking field goals. Who could have seen a kicker with a groin injury being a problem? It's almost like if you have a hurt groin, you're going to favor that with your hamstring. I'm not a doctor. But look, the same thing happened with the Jets last year. Remember the Jets game? Gano couldn't make a kick because he was hurt. If Dan Duggan can see it, and if my guy, Mr. Rick Cha, a longtime diehard New York Giants fan that has had season tickets for 40-plus years that watches this channel, he texted me back on October 22nd of 2023, last year, told me Gano did not come out for pregame warmups. Gano was hurt. He did not warm up in the game. That happened versus Washington. He missed his field goals in that game. You then trotted him out there the game after that versus the Jets, causing you to lose that game because you did not have a kicker. If this was the first time the Giants and Brian Daboll botched the kicker situation, you know what? Wipe our hands with it. No harm, no foul. But this is the second time. First time you fool me, shame on me. Second time you fool me, shame on you. And you just went through this last week. Your punt returner, Gunnar Olszewski, had a groin injury. He re-aggravated that groin injury in pregame warmups. You didn't have a backup plan. You asked your team who wants to return punts today. Darius Slayton raised his hand and you put him back there, and you know what he did? He muffed the kick. So you had the opportunity to learn from your mistake last week to prevent it this week to win a football game, and you did not do it. A man that does not learn from his mistakes is not someone you can ever trust in a position of power. And right now, I do not trust Brian Daboll to turn this ship around. He is cooked, ladies and gentlemen. Pat Leonard, whatever you think of him, asked Brian Daboll, Do you think your job is secure? He says, I've been doing this a long time. I'm just going to focus on the Giants. Then he looked at another reporter, and then he stared down Pat Leonard for 5 to 7 seconds. You going to fight him? Are you going to beat him up, Brian Daboll? You're a fake tough guy. You just stared down a reporter for asking you a question about your job security because you're 0-2 for the second time in a row. That was a joke. We have our head coach staring down reporters because he thinks the questions are unfair. He's a fake tough guy. Brian Daboll, we'll move on from that. Another problem. Brian Daboll was brought here to fix the offense. He got this job because of what he did as the offensive coordinator with the Buffalo Bills, right? He groomed Josh Allen. He made Josh Allen an MVP. No, he didn't. Josh Allen made Josh Allen an MVP. The dude had an immense amount of talent. Brian Daboll was just the OC that got to reap those rewards. You're brought here to fix the offense. 18th in points per game your first season, 30th last year, and in 2 weeks into the NFL season, you are 30th again. The one thing Brian Daboll should be able to hang his hat on, if you can't get the active 48 right, you can't figure out injury reports, it should at least be able to run an offense. Offenses luck into points. The Giants don't even do that. 2 years in a row, you are the second and third worst offense on a points per game basis. What about getting your coaching staff right? You can at least do that, right, Brian Daboll? You can't get the active game day roster right. You can't fix the offense. And oh yeah, you can't get your coaching staff right. You're on your second defensive coordinator in 3 seasons. You're on your second offensive coordinator in 3 seasons. You're on your second special teams coach in 3 seasons. And you're on your second offensive line coach in 3 seasons. You can't get the game day roster right. You can't coach offense. You're staring down reporters like you're a big, bad, tough guy, and you can't even get your coaching staff right. John Mara said it after the Giants won a playoff game that set them back 20 years. In this town, you can go from Bono to Bozo real quick. In the nose of Brian Daboll, it is red and it is circular because he is the head of this clown show that the New York Giants are trotting out every single Sunday. 2022 was a long time ago, ladies and gentlemen. A long time ago. Look at where we are right now. We are the modern-day Cleveland Browns. That's who the New York Giants are. 9 of the last 12 seasons, this football team has started 0-2. You are a joke, and you are an embarrassment to what was once looked at as a blue blood organization in this sport. Now they're just the floor mat. They get stepped on and ran over every single week. Look, I know there's a lot of people that may not be ready to move on from Brian Daboll. And I understand that. And I get it. It's only year 2.5. It hasn't even been 3 full seasons. But my question to you is this. Educate me in the chat. What does Brian Daboll do well as a head coach? Don't all rush to answer at once. Let me know your thoughts. I'll be down in the comments section trying to understand what he does well as the head coach of the New York Football Giants. I've got more thoughts and takes about this coming up in a second. But first, I got to give a major shout out to today's sponsor, Game Time. If you're looking for last-minute tickets to go watch the Giants, make sure you do it with Game Time and you save yourself some money and use the promo code ChatSports for $20 off your first purchase. But it's more than just Giants games. You go to NBA games, MLB games, concerts, theater events, and so much more. Game Time makes sure you get the best seats for the lowest prices guaranteed. You get last-minute tickets and flash deals. Prices of the event actually drop as the event gets closer. In the app, you get a view from the seat before you buy your tickets. It's really easy to resell your tickets. It's the most user-friendly ticketing app I have used, and that's why I am only a Game Time user. Also, these 2 features, take advantage of it. All-in pricing. That way, the price you see is the price you pay. No hidden fees when you get to checkout. And the new feature, Game Time Picks. It pretty much personalizes your feed and makes it that much more easy, and that easy, to go watch your favorite teams, bands, artists, and so on and so forth go and perform. It's awesome, and you get to save $20 off your first purchase where terms do apply. What time is it? Game time. Download the app, create an account, promo code ChatSports, CHATSPORTS, and get $20 off your first purchase where terms do apply. But Marshall, We can't fire another head coach. We fired Shermer after 2 seasons. We fired Joe Judge after 2 seasons. We fired Benny McAdoo after 2 seasons. We can't continue this cycle, right? Why not? Why not? Once you identify that the man that's holding the clipboard, when you identify that that head coach is not the guy anymore, you move on. Why would you continue to have someone in a position of power that does not make your football team better and actually makes them worse? You can't continue with the wrong people in position of power just because you're afraid to start over. You know why? Because nothing matters until you have a head coach, a quarterback, and a GM. We all know we don't have a quarterback. I don't know if we have a GM, but I'm almost certain we don't have a head coach. And we've seen other teams in the NFL that are now looked at as powerhouses move on from head coach to head coach to head coach. What about the Houston Texans? They fired Bill O'Brien in the 2020 season. Then they hired Romeo Crennel as the interim. And in the next 3 seasons, they went through 3 different head coaches. You know why? Because they knew David Culley wasn't the guy. Then they knew Lovie Smith wasn't the guy. And then what happened? They threw one more dart and they hit a bullseye with DeMeco Ryans, and he will be the next head coach for the Houston Texans for the next 15 or 20 years. And then they got their quarterback. And the Texans went from a peewee football team to a team that is going to compete to win the AFC this year because they weren't scared. Scared money? You know what you told me, Joe Shane? Remember that in the 2022-2023 NFL draft? Scared money doesn't make money. Well, stop being scared. Go get someone that can get this job done. We just saw the Houston Texans turn it around like that. You don't settle in life. You definitely don't settle for a mediocre coach, an offensive guru that helps you be the 30th scoring offense 2 years in a row. Can't get the game day roster right. Can't figure out the injury report. And now he wants to fight reporters because they asked him if he is secure on his job. Keep firing. Shoot or shoot. Keep firing off shots until you hit. That's what the Texans did. 3 coaches, 3 years. Now they got a top 5 coach in the NFL. And let's circle it all back to the guy at the top, John Mara. He deserves more blame than anybody for this because he is the guy, he is the face, he is the one making the decisions. Do we really think that John Mara is going to stick by Brian Daboll's side when Bill Belichick calls him up in January and says, I want to come be the head coach of the New York Giants? Bill Belichick wants to be here. You think John Mara is going to stick by Brian Daboll's side when he's got Bill Belichick wanting to be the head coach of the New York Football Giants? He will fold like a lawn chair. And I'm honestly not so sure it's the wrong thing to do. What about you? Who should be the next head coach? Put it like this. Who do you want to be the head coach of the New York Giants to start the 2025 season? Because 2024 is over. You're 0-2. 6% of teams that start 0-2 make the playoffs. Giants don't got the dog in them like that, and it starts with that bald guy. Pick a head coach, BD or BB. I'll say this much. Brian Daboll, he lost that game yesterday for the Giants. Bill Belichick does not lose that game. You think Bill Belichick's going into a game with a hurt kicker? No. You think Bill Belichick-led defense is going to let rookie quarterback Jane Daniels 7 drives, 7 points, 7 times they scored, 7 successful drives. Bill Belichick would have shut out the Washington Commanders yesterday. He may not be an offensive mind. He may be old. You could say whatever you want. But he would fix this defense like that, and you'd be a top 5 defense. You wouldn't be a laughing stock, and you would have an identity. Your identity right now is a circus. It is a clown show. It is a joke what the New York Giants have become since Brian Daboll has joined this team. You just won a freaking playoff game 2 years ago, and now you are once again a bottom 5 team in the NFL. And that's putting it mildly. You're the second worst team in the NFL by a mile, and you might just lose to Andy Dalton in Germany in a couple of weeks. Make sure you are following me over on social media. I'm on Twitter. I'm on IG. We can continue to talk about it. But, man, something's got to change. Something has to change. Give me a follow, and let's go Big Blue.